Hello everyone. If you like my video, please subscribe, like and share it for watching upcoming videos. Thank you.
Hello everyone. I hope everyone is in good health. Today I am going to continue the same chapter, lesson 3, that is element, compounds and mixture, with the topic compounds. Let us see the topic compound with a definition. What is compound? Compound is a pure substance composed of two or more elements combined chemically in a definite proportion by mass. Let us understand the meaning first. We know that compounds and elements are part of pure substance. So it is a pure substance composed of two or more elements. That means in a compound, two or more elements will be combined. They will be combined chemically, not physically they will combine. If they combine in a fixed ratio, definite proportion means in a fixed ratio. You cannot change the ratio in your desired way. So it will be in a fixed ratio in forming a compound. So that ratio will be in what proportion? By mass. So it is a pure substance composed of two or more. It can be two, it can be more than two. So you can take an examples like CaCO3. You can see that three elements are there: calcium, carbon and oxygen. Like this, many compounds are there which are containing two, like the NaCl can contain more than two, like calcium carbonate. Like this, they are all has a chemically combined in a fixed ratio by mass. Let us take an example: sodium chloride. Sodium chloride, whose atomic mass is, sodium atomic mass is 23, chlorine atomic mass is 35.5. Now you will understand why 35.5 in the senior class, why it is, because it has two isotopes. That's right. Now this they are bearing the ratio 1:1. Now you can easily write their masses 23:35.5. That means they bear the ratio 1:1 ratio. Now this compound, in the elements also, students, we have learned that they have a unit known as atoms. Now compounds also have a unit by which it is made up of. The unit of a compound is known as molecule. What are the main characteristics of a compound? Characteristics of a compound. Let us see the first characteristics of a compound. First characteristics of the compound is the definition itself only. That means here it contains elements, and elements are made up of atoms. So atoms of two or more elements combines chemically in a fixed ratio. That means atoms of two or more elements combined in a fixed ratio by mass. That means they are combined in a fixed ratio. I have already told in the definition also. So the characteristics also comes out as a first point of this. Now second point, they are pure and homogeneous. What is meant by this statement, pure and homogeneous? That means they were all throughout identical. That means if you take water, any droplets you can collect from any corner of the water, or you can take calcium carbonate, that is the chalk. If you take a piece of chalk and you cut this piece or this piece, or you cut this piece, everywhere you will get the calcium carbonate, the ratio same. That means they are homogeneous everywhere. Okay, that means they are all alike, that molecules have been equally distributed throughout the compound. And this happens why? Because of they are having identical, same physical and chemical properties. Since they are pure substance, they have a fixed melting and boiling point. That means their melting and boiling point of a fixed compound is always remains fixed. They will boil at a fixed temperature and they will melt at a fixed temperature. You cannot change the temperature for their melting and boiling. Now coming to the fourth point. Fourth point says that they can be separated by chemical methods only. By heating, by magnetization, all the physical process you cannot apply here for their separation into their constituent or components. That means they need chemical reaction to be followed to come again back to their components. That's why they need to be separated by chemical methods only. So like this, examples are there, many examples are there. Like let us take a small example of heating of mercuric oxide, HgO, it breaks up to Hg and O2. Now you balance, okay. After heating, it is a sign of heat. So when after heating, it gives the metallic mercury, that is the mercury, and oxygen gases liberated. Now once it is being changed to this, and it is not possible to these two elements get back to mercury again by heating again. Because heating is a physical process, you cannot break it back. That means chemical methods only can bring them back to again this. So it is not possible here. Okay. Now coming to the next point. The next point says that during the chemical reaction formation, that is during the formation of a compound, what happens? Energy can be either absorbed or can be liberated. Let us take some example of this in which the energy is liberated. Carbon plus oxygen gives carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is a gas plus heat is given out. Heat is required also in this case, but heat is also liberated in this process. So this type of reaction is also known as exothermic reaction, in which the heat is liberated as one of the product. Okay. Now heat is required. That type of reaction also we can give. Heat is absorbed. So let us see. In our air, it happens during the thunder and storm. Nitrogen and oxygen, when it combines, it takes heat. High amount of heat is being taken. How much amount of heat? 3000 degrees centigrade approximate. Okay. It changes to nitric oxide. Okay. So this high amount of heat is being absorbed. That means heat is a form of energy. Heat is either absorbed for this change of elements to respective compound. Now the last point, that is the last characteristics of this, they have a definite chemical formulae or formula. What is mean by this statement? That means if they will have a definite chemical formula, which will represent what? It will represent a molecule. Which represent a molecule, because we know compounds unit is the molecule. Let us take an example of this. Any example you take, very well known reagent in our lab, sulfuric acid, H2SO4. Can you see? It is H2SO4. Since it is, why we will say it is a molecule of H2SO4? Because since there is no number before this molecule, so it is understood to be 1. So how many molecules of H2SO4 is there? 1 molecule. We are not writing here that H2SO4 is the sulfuric acid. And sulfuric acid is the chemical name of the given compound. And if I write the formulae of this, it is also known as the chemical formula of the compound or molecular formula of the compound, or we can simply say formula of this compound. They all represent the same. In spite of writing such a big formula, big name, we say a simple formula also we can write to represent one molecule of a compound. So students, these are all the characteristics we have come through. Let us see examples. Two very frequent use of our domestic example. Let us see. The first example we will take water. Now water, we write the formula H2O. In the first point about its, we will just justify the characteristic with the help of the example. Why we say water is a compound, not an element. Let us justify all the characteristics of the compound with the help of this example. So, first characteristic we will justify that why water is a compound. So, we are seeing that H2O, 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. That means ratio is 2:1. That is the fixed ratio is the 2:1. Let us see now the atomic masses of each. So, hydrogen has the atomic mass 1. Oxygen atomic mass is 16. Now, this is 2 are there. So, the ratio will be what? 2:16. So, both are divisible. So, we can write 1:8. So, what is the ratio of hydrogen and oxygen in the water is 1:8. By what? By mass. Okay, because we know atomic masses we have calculated and taken out that 1:8 by mass, their ratio. Okay, So the first point is what? They bears a fixed ratio by mass is 1:8. Now coming to the second point. The second point we will see that how the behavior, what is the behavior of the respective elements will differ from the compound water. The properties of the both hydrogen and oxygen are what? Gases. But water is a liquid. So water is a liquid. Hydrogen is a combustible gas. Oxygen is a supporter of burning. Whereas water is a non-supporter of burning. Water, what it does? Extinguish fire. Yes or no? So see the difference, how their behavior is totally opposite. But water is made up of this hydrogen and oxygen only, but then also its characteristics are not at all matching, by which it is made up of. Third point we will see, these two elements cannot be separated by physical methods. So what happened? By physical method it cannot be separated, these two elements. So what it needs? It can occur when electric current is passed through them. That's why the process is known as what? Electrolysis. That means by the process of electrolysis, water is being separated into two respective components, that is hydrogen and oxygen. And electrolysis is what process? It is a chemical process. Okay, let us take another example. The next example we are taking, that is iron 2 sulfide, which is, the formula is FeS. Now iron 2 sulfide, why we are writing 2? Because iron has variable valence. In the previous classes we have learned that iron has more than one valency, that's why it is coming under variable valency. The two valencies are 2 and 3. Here we have taken the 2 valency, lower valency. That is ferrous. Iron and sulfur. Now what we will do? Iron and sulfur, they are bearing a first point, they are bearing the ratio. Please remember that. They are chemically combined and bearing the ratio 7:4. Students, you have to remember the ratio, how they are combined by mass. Second point again. Let us see what are the individual characteristics of iron and sulfur. Iron is a magnetic substance. We all know magnetic substance. So it can be attracted by magnet. Yes or no? On the other hand, sulfur is a yellow powder. Sulfur is a non-metal. It is a soft yellow powder. And it is highly soluble in a solvent known as carbon disulfide. These are the two characteristics we taken out. We have taken that iron is a highly magnetic substance, can be easily attracted by magnet. On the other hand, sulfur is highly soluble in a solvent called carbon disulfide, whose formula is CS2. We will see now when we will heat this iron and sulfur, that is iron and sulfur when heated, that is chemical reaction is occurring and it will change to iron sulfide. Now what will be the change in the color and the mass will be occurring? It will be a grayish black solid. Solid will be formed. And when we will check this solid with the help of these two respective processes, we will find that it is totally inactive. Inactive means it will show no reaction. No reaction, you understand? That means it will show no changes. That means when we take this little bit amount of iron sulfide and bring a strong magnet near it, it will be totally not getting attracted by a magnet. And when we will take a little amount of ferrous sulfide and dip it in a carbon disulfide solution, it is totally insoluble. That means iron and sulfur, what are the characteristics we find in them? We find that the product which is formed by them is totally different from them, and the characteristics, properties are totally different from the components from which it is formed. That means compound is totally different from the components, from the respective elements from which it is. Okay, so this is the main characteristics of a compound that we have come across. Now you will see in the table 3.3 in your book, you already know few of the compounds name, but few are unknown to you. You try to learn them out nicely so that it can help you in learning. Now students, we will come to the next topic, that is the mixtures. Now what is mixture? Mixture is also a kind of matter, but it is formed by mixing. It is a key word, by mixing. Till now in the elements and compounds we are learning what? By combining. You must have carefully listened to the word. I was telling that by combining, but now I am telling by mixing. Mixing is totally separate from the word combining. Why? Because combining is used in the sentence where we are chemically combining anything, and mixing is physically they are mixing. So a kind of matter formed by mixing two or more pure substances, that it can be pure substances, can be elements, can be compound. So mixing pure substances in any or varied proportion. This is the another key, and this formation takes place in the physical change. That's why they do not undergo any chemical change. Understand? They do not undergo any chemical change. So the components which makes the mixture, suppose for example let us take A plus B gives C. So A and B are the components of the mixture. Which is making the mixture? It is mixture, is the product. So A and B here is what? They are physically, they are not, actually this is not the chemical reaction I am showing. I am just showing you that this is the component side. So these A and B are mixing together to form the C, that is the mixture for you. And this A and B are also known as what? Components or constituents of the mixture. So they are known by the, any of the one name you can take, that they are the components of the mixture or they are the constituents of the mixture. Okay. Now coming to the characteristics of mixture. Now students, we will talk about the characteristics of mixture. The first characteristics, a mixture consists of two or more pure substances that exist together without any chemical composition in them. We know that they are mixing in varied proportion, so they will mix together in physical. Okay, no chemical composition will be there. First characteristics is two or more pure substances exist together without any chemical composition or chemical combination between them. That means they are physically mixing with each other. That means two or more pure substances. It can be two elements also, elements and a compound also, but they will be mixing together in a physical way, not chemically. Second point, mixture can be heterogeneous, can be homogeneous. That means some mixtures where the components are equally distributed, and in some of the mixtures components are unequally distributed. So mixtures can be homogeneous or heterogeneous. They can be heterogeneous also, can be homogeneous also. It depends upon what type of mixture we have taken. Third point, the components of the mixture vary from one place in their proportion. Now, how can we explain this? We know that air is a mixture. Now, air is a mixture of several gases, out of which oxygen is also one of the component of the air. Whatever oxygen we see in the plains, do we see the same amount of oxygen on the hills, on the mountains, under the mines, under the ocean? No. That's why you usually see that miners, then ocean divers, then they carry oxygen cylinder with them because due to scarcity of oxygen over there. That's why an oxygen is one of the component of mixture. So we can say that the components of mixture vary in their proportion. They are not same everywhere in the mixture. And we know that air is present in the atmosphere. So wherever the air will be there, it is oxygen will be also there, but it will vary from place to place. So we can write the components vary in their what? Proportions. In their proportions. Now coming to the fourth point. Since it is a mixture, like the compound, it will not have a fixed melting and boiling point. What is the meaning of this? That means they will not boil at a fixed temperature, neither they will melt at a fixed temperature. That means they do not have a fixed melting and boiling point. Okay, fifth point is the very important point. They can be separated by physical method. Chemically, we are not required to separate the mixture. You have learned in the class 7, 8 that what are the physical method like sublimation, evaporation, then distillation, then filtration. These are all physical method by which we separate the solid liquid, liquid from each other, for which some of the method needs heat. Now you will say heat is required. Then what is the heat is used here? To separate the mixture. They are not consumed by the mixture. Okay, so they can be separated by simple physical methods. And you know that physical methods can be back also, can be returned back. You know, evaporation, we can easily separate them, and salt and water can be evaporated and we can get back the salt also, and if we condense the water we can get back the water also. Next point is in chemical change we have seen that energy giving and taking is going on. In mixture, since it is a physical process, no energy change takes place. No energy change takes place during the formation. Okay, now let us see the next point. We know that the compounds are represented by a fixed chemical formula. What about mixtures? Mixtures cannot be represented by a formula. Let us take an example of this. You know that air is a mixture. Okay, and air contains what? So many gases in it. Like hydrogen, it has a formula. Oxygen, it has a formula. Carbon dioxide, it has a formula. Nitrogen, it has a formula. Water vapor, it has formula. Now all this formula cannot make the air as a formula. That's why air don't contain any formula. That's why we say that air does not have a formula. So air is a mixture. Clear? Now we are coming to the next, that mixture has been divided into two main types on the basis of their composition. Let us see. Now we will see the types of mixture. There are two major types of mixture. What are the two major types of mixture? First is the homogeneous mixture and second is the heterogeneous. Let us see what is homogeneous mixture. It is a mixture where the components are uniformly distributed throughout its volume, and that's why we cannot see through our eyes separately. Suppose if I take a glass of water, okay, in a glass of water I put some salt. It is water, I put some salt in it. After mixing it with the stirrer, we find that it gets totally dissolved. After some time we observe that the salt water, we put it in a tray. Okay, this salt water is distributed in a tray. After that you are asked to take from this corner, one is asked to take from this corner. Are they going to get the same taste? Yes, they are going to get the same taste because the salt is one of the components of this mixture, has been uniformly distributed throughout the mixture. That means it is an example of homogeneous mixture. So since it is a homogeneous mixture, let us see. So how can we define the homogeneous mixture? The components are uniformly distributed. Components are uniformly distributed throughout the mixture, throughout its volume. We say throughout its volume and cannot be seen separate. Okay. The opposite will be there. Example, you can take salt water, sugar water, anything you can take. You take salt solution. Okay. Now coming to the heterogeneous mixture. Just opposite of this. Components of mixture, and this type of mixture components are not uniformly distributed throughout its volume. Okay, and can be seen. You can easily see from outside that the components are present, whatever the components are present, and can be seen separately. Any example you can take. Okay, what example you will take here? You can take sand and sugar, sand and sugar, sand and stone, anything you can take. Okay, like this we can. So two major types of mixtures are homogeneous and heterogeneous. So students, I hope you have understood today's topic. So try to read at home from your book. It has been given very nicely in your book also. Try to read them out and try to understand them. That's all for today. Take care of your health. Have a nice day. Thank you.